Angkor Wat, the temple city, city of temples, is a temple complex in Cambodia and the largest religious monument in this world by land area, measuring 162.6 hectares. Originally constructed as a personal mausoleum for the King Suyavarman II, dedicated to Vishnu in the early 12th century. It was converted into the Buddhist temple towards the end of the 12th century and remains so to the present day. The temple was built by the Khmer king Surayaman in the early 12th century in Yasoharapura, the capital of the Khmer Empire, as the state temple for the empire. As the best researched temple at the site, it is the only one to have remained a significant religious center since its foundation. The temple is at the top of the high classical style of Khmer architecture. Today, it is one of the most important pilgrimage sites for the Buddhists in Cambodia and around the world. It has become a symbol of Cambodia, appearing on its national flag, and it is the country's main tourist attraction. Angkor Wat played a major role in converting Cambodia into a Buddhist nation. Angkor Wat combines two basic blends of Khmer temple architecture in the Temple Mountain and the later Gallery Temple. It is designed to represent Mount Meru, home of the devas in Hindu and Buddhist cosmology. It lies within a more than 500 kilometers long and outlet wall 3.6 kilometers long. The temple has three rectangular galleries raised above the nave. At the center of the temple stand a quincunx of the temples. Unlike most Angkorian temples, Angkor Wat is oriented to the west. Scholars are divided as to the significance of this. The temple is admired to grandeur and harmony of its architecture, extensive bas-reliefs, and statues of Buddhas as devas. The term is war. The modern name Angkor Wat means temple city or city of temples in Khmer, meaning city or capital cities. It's a vernacular form of the word Angkor, which comes from the Sanskrit Nagara, Devanagari, and Wat is the Khmer word the temple grows, also derived from the Sanskrit Pali Vata, meaning enclosures. The original name of the temple was Vishnuloka or Parama Vishnuloka, Sanskrit, Khmer, Vishnulok, Param Vishnulok, which was the posthumous name of its royal founder. Angkor Wat lies 5.5 kilometers north of the modern town of Siem Reap and the short distance south and slightly east of the previous capital, which was centered at Bafun, in an area of the Cambodia where there is an essential group of ancient structures. It is the southernmost of Angkor's main site. According to the myth, the construction of Angkor Wat was ordered by Indra to serve as a place for his son Preja Khetmili. According to the 13th century Chinese traveler Zhou Daguan, some believe that the temple was constructed in a single night by a divine architect. The initial design and construction of the temple took place in the first half of the 12th century. During the reign of Suyavarman II, Zhu 1113 to 1150. Breaking the Saiva tradition of previous king, Angkor was instead dedicated to Vishnu. It built as the king's state temple and capital city, as neither the foundation stela nor any contemporary inscription referring to the temple have been found. Its original name is unknown, but it may have been known as Vishnu Lord, after the presiding deity. Work seemed to have ended shortly after the king's death, leaving some of the bas-relief decoration unfinished. The term Vishnu Loka or Parama Vishnu Loka literally named the king who has gone to the supreme world of Vishnu, which referred to Suryavarman II, posthumously intended to venerate his glory and memory. In 1177, approximately 27 years after the death of Suryavarman II, Angkor was sacked by the Chams, the traditional enemies of the Khmer. Thereafter, the empire was restored by a new king, Jayavarman VII, who established a new capital and state temple, Angkor Thom and Bayon respectively, which was dedicated to the Buddhism. Because the king believed that the Hindu god had failed him a few kilometers to the north. Therefore, Angkor Wat was also gradually converted into the Buddhist site, and many Hindu sculptures were replaced by Buddhist art. Towards the end of the 12th century, Angkor Wat gradually transformed from a Hindu center of worship to Buddhism, which continued to present day. Angkor Wat is unusual among the Angkor temples in that although it was largely neglected after the 16th century, it was never completely abandoned. For the inscription dating to the 17th century, discovered in the Angkor area, testified to Japanese Buddhist pilgrims that had established small settlements alongside Khmer locals. At that time, the temple was thought by the Japanese visitor as a famed Jetavana garden of Buddha, which originally located in the kingdom of Magadha, India. The best known inscription tells Ugondayu Gazufuza, who celebrated the New Year of Angkor Wat in 1632. One of the first Western visitors to the temple was Antonio da Madalena, a Portuguese friar who visited in 1986 and said that it's one of the extraordinary constructions that it's not possible to describe it with a pen, particularly since it is like no other buildings in this world. It had towers and decoration and all the refinements which the human genius can conceive. In 1960, the temple was effectively rediscovered by the French naturalist and explorer Henry Mohot, who popularized the site the West. The publication of the travel notes in which he wrote, one of these temples, arrival to Dr. Solomon, and erected to some Michelangelo, Angelo might take an honorable place beside our most beautiful buildings. Is it granted that anything left by Greece or Rome and Britain, a such contrast to the state of barbarism in which the nation is now plunged? The splendid artistic legacy of Angkor Wat and other Khmer monuments in the Angkor region led directly to France adopting Cambodia as a protectorate on the 11th August 1863 and invading Siam to take control of the ruins. This quickly led to Cambodian reclaiming lands in the northwestern corner of the country. that had been under Siamese Thai control since AD 1351, managed Chumsai according to, or by some accounts, according to AD 1431. There were no ordinary dwelling or houses or other site of settlement, including cooking utensils, weapons, or items of clothing, are usually found at ancient sites. Instead, there is only evidence of the monument themselves. French Exploration Commission began drawing up a list of principal monuments. Subsequent mission caught by inscription written on Angkor buildings, so scholars might translate them and learn something of Angkor history. By 1885, they had worked up a chronology of the rulers and developed the outlines of the description of the civilization that had produced the temple complex. In 1898, the French decided to commit substantial funds to Angkor preservation. Centuries of neglect had permitted the jungle to recapture many of the more significant structures, and unless efforts were made to free the buildings from the embrace of huge banyan and the silk cotton tree, they may soon be close to the destruction. Angkor Wat's aesthetics were also on display in the plaster cast museum of Louis de la Porte called Museum Indochinois, which existed in the Parisian Trocadero Palace from 1880 to mid-1920s. The 20th century saw a considerable restoration of Angkor Wat. Gradually, teams of the laborers and archaeologists pushed back the jungle, exposing the expanse of the throne, permitted the sun once again to illuminate the dark corners of the temple. Angkor Wat caught the attention and imagination of the wider audience in Europe when the bold vision of the French protectorate of Cambodia as a part of French Indochina recreated the life-size replica of Angkor Wat during Paris Colonial Exposition in 1931. Cambodia gained independence from France on the 9th November 1953 and has controlled Angkor Wat since that time. It is safe to say that from the colonial period onwards until the site nomination as UNESCO World Heritage in 1992, this specific temple of Angkor Wat were instrumental in the formation of the modern global site concept of built cultural heritage. Restoration work as interrupted by the Cambodian Civil War and the Khmer rule control of the country during the 1970s and the 1980s, but relatively little damage was done during the period. Coming Khmer rule forced use whatever would remain in the building structure for the firework, and the showdown between Khmer rule and Vietnamese force put a few pulling holes in the bas relief. Far more damage was done after the wars by the actives working out of Thailand, which in the late 1980s and early 1990s claimed almost every hit that could be left of the structure, including reconstruction. The temple is a powerful symbol of Cambodia and is a source of a great national pride that has factored into Cambodia's diplomatic relations with France, the United States, and its neighbor Thailand. A depiction of the Angkor Wat has been part of Cambodian national flag since the introduction of the first version circa 1863. From a larger historical and even transcultural perspective, however, the temple of the Angkor Wat did not become a symbol of a national pride but had been inspired into a larger political cultural process of French colonial heritage production in which original temple site was presented in French colonial and the Universal Exhibition in Paris and Marseille between 1889 and 1937. In December 2015, it was announced that the research team of the University of Sydney had found a previously unseen ensemble of buried towers built and demolished during the construction of the Angkor Wat, as well as the massive structure of unknown purpose on its south side and wooden fortification. The findings also include evidence of low-density residential occupation in the region, with the road creek, ponds, and mounds. This indicates that the temple precinct bound by the moat and wall may not have been used exclusively by the priestly elite, as the previous told. The theme of usually the crowd penetrating rather and touching application to the map Angkor Wat. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Thank you so much. ขอบคุณเจริญ